All right, joining me now here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Napoleon Gomez. Napoleon is the President and General Secretary of the National Mining and Metal Workers Union, Los Mineros. He is also the author of the new book, Collapse of Dignity, the story of a mining tragedy and the fight against greed and corruption in Mexico, which you can find at collapseofdignity.com. Napoleon, thank you so much for being on the show.
On the contrary, thank you very much for this opportunity, Matthew.
All right, so Napoleon, let's begin with the centerpiece of the book, and that is, of course, the mining disaster that took place on February 19th, 2006 in northern Mexico. Describe for people who aren't aware with what happened, what exactly took place on that day?
Yeah, with pleasure. On the middle of the night of the 19th of February 2006, in the north of Mexico, in a coal mine called Pasta de Conchos, there was an explosion in which 65 miners died. And after 5 days of trying to rescue our colleagues, our brothers, the company Grupo Mexico, by the way, one of the most non-ethical companies in the whole world, according to international organizations, they decided to shut down the mine and abandon our colleagues without knowing if they were dead or alive. That was a shame and a terrible situation for Mexico. We decided to continue on the rescuing activities for our colleagues, and because of the terrible safety conditions and health conditions that prevail in the mine, and that we had complaining before, and the company ignored completely our complaints, then the mine exploded. So I accused the company of industrial homicide, what you may call corporate murder in North America. And immediately after that, the Mexican government started, and the company together, they were colluded, the government of Vicente Fox and the company Grupo Mexico, they began a smear campaign, a huge campaign, in order to destroy my leadership, my union, my colleagues, my family, and they launched a political persecution against myself. They froze in our accounts, the union accounts, our personal accounts. They create false accusations against all of us, and it was a terrible situation, a very tough and difficult situation that we were defending and protecting worker rights and human rights, and the company colluded with the Mexican government of Vicente Fox. They were just trying to ignore everything that had happened and trying to break our union and break myself and my colleagues and my family. So this is what happened on the 19th of February 2006.
So again, the company, the mine owner, Grupo Mexico, it's a company that has a long, horrific history of worker abuse and deplorable, dangerous conditions. Your union, Los Mineros, had been demanding action on these horrible conditions leading up to the disaster. Even the Mexican government, there is a record of them even saying that these conditions are not safe for the workers who are working in this mine. The mine explodes February 19, 2006, and 5 days. They made a half-handed attempt of rescue for 5 days, but then after 5 days, the government and the company just shrugs their shoulders. And if I'm correct, the bodies of those miners are still underground right now. Correct? That they have not been. The bodies of these poor workers have not yet been recovered.
That is correct. 63,
Unbelievable.
63 out of the 65 who died, they are still abandoned at the bottom of the mine. 2 of them, we rescued them because we continue the families and the union trying to rescue them. And we recovered 2 bodies of our brothers, and 63 are today still abandoned. This is a terrible shame. When you compare this with what happened in Chile in 2010, when a mine had also an explosion and 33 miners were trapped at 750 meters down on the earth in hard rock terrain, in the mountain terrain, and they found them alive 17 days later after the mine exploded, and they were rescued, all of them, the 33 alive, 69 days after the mine exploded. So this is It was a victory for the Chilean miners, and in the case of Mexico and Grupo Mexico and the government of Vicente Fox, it was just a shame that they abandoned our colleagues. They left the army and the federal police forces guarding and protecting the mine. The families were very angry and upset, and we were the same. I stayed in the mine for another 2.5 weeks until the government began with this political persecution, trying to arrest my colleagues and myself on false charges, trying to impose another union leader without no convention, without no being member of the union, just as if it was just a puppet for the company and the government. It was a terrible situation, and really this is something that we should condemn and avoid that this happens again, not only in Mexico, anywhere else in the world. This is a real shame for Mexico. In Mexico, they were abandoned, the miners. In Chile, they were rescued successfully. So it's really terrible what happened there.
Absolutely. So let's describe the campaign that Grupo Mexico and the Mexican government waged against your union, against you specifically. What exactly did they do? They accused you of numerous crimes, but once again, over time, most of those things have been thrown out in a lot of levels of court, but it's still going on to this day. So just describe what happened actually in the campaign and what they were accusing you of, and how that actually affected what you guys were trying to do.
Yeah, the president of Mexico at that time, Vicente Fox, ordered and asked the governor of Coahuila, the state of Coahuila in the north of Mexico, where the mine exploded, that he should put some warrant arrest against myself and some of my colleagues. And the governor, who was from another party, from the pre-party, he said publicly a year later that Fox tried to put a lot of pressure and threats. Even he took away 200 million pesos from his budget because he didn't obey Fox, saying, on what charges, Mr. President? He said, there are no charges against him. Well, you have to invent or create them. I mean, can you imagine a president violating the law, the Constitution, human rights and civil rights, just because of that, just to satisfy the needs and the greed of the company Grupo Mexico? And it was terrible. So they invent a lot of accusations. There was a trust that the union had from the privatization of two of the copper mines, which belonged to the same company in the late 80s. And those funds belonged to the union. It was proven through different auditings from Switzerland, from Mexico, from the National Banking and Securities Commission in Mexico. And everything was proved that it was transparent, the way we used that fund for the benefit of the workers and their families. So it was really a smear campaign to discredit our union, to criminalize our decisions and our actions, because we are the most democratic and independent union of Mexico. We have 250,000 members at the national level. And so they thought probably if they destroy our union, they could destroy any other one. So it was really a shame what the government of Vicente Fox, colluded with Grupo Mexico of Germán Larrea, tried to do against our union, our families, our colleagues. We had been complaining about this situation, and even we went into 3 different strikes demanding not only better wages and benefits, but the safety and health conditions that were terrible, that prevailed in the mine, and they just ignored them completely because the government was colluded. You know, the Secretary of Labor, who Fox sent to the mine together with the company, the CEO of the company, he was a chemical engineer. He didn't know anything about labor laws. In his private companies, he was a supplier of chemical products for Grupo Mexico. So there is a lot of corruption involved, which still has, unfortunately, not been sufficiently investigated, and there is still remaining in impunity. So this is something that we were still demanding. The rescue of our 63 colleagues who are abandoned, or the bodies of our colleagues were abandoned at the bottom of the mine, and the families to be compensated with dignity and justice, and also to punish the responsibles the criminal negligence they committed, Grupo Mexico, and the responsibility they committed in this tragedy, this explosion, this catastrophe that happened in the mine Pasta de Conchos in the north of Mexico in Coahuila.